Did. I can't see.
Oh, it's going. Hello, Facebook. No,
Oh
I'm just kidding.
my god! I was like, wait, hold on. Let me look. Um, come on. Um, yeah, I think we are. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Power Hour. Um, I think let's see, we are in week 18 of the Power Hour. Super thankful to be here. Today's Power Hour, we'll be talking about census and the community and a lot of things that are really important. Today's Power Hour is sponsored by the Center for Native American Youth, CNAY. Please go check them out. They have a lot of really amazing stuff. And actually, while I'm on the topic, for a Center for Native American Youth, they have this survey, and how it is in community. They have a lot of prizes that you can win along the way, and the survey is gonna do a lot for community. So please head over there. We can put it in the comments, or I will try to put it in the comments in just a minute. The link to their survey and also more stuff that they're doing. I also know that they have a live stream going on today, every Wednesday, I believe. Cool. So we'll do quick intros before we kind of get into it. So Naha, hello. My name is Shailene Joseph. On my mother's side, I am Ani from Fort Belknap, Montana. And on my dad's side, I am Koikan Athabaskan from Tanana, Alaska. Super thankful to be here. Our norm, we have like a list of kind of questions that we answer. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, just checking in with myself, I'm a 10 today. I haven't been a 10 for a while, so I'm super excited to not only just be here, but to be feeling good. And I have my second cup of coffee, so I'm like on my way to an 11. Let's see. A positive thing about myself is that I am willing to do the hard work necessary, just for my own like mental well-being, my mental health. A funny fact about myself, I am gonna have to come back to that one. That's a hard one. And something I'm thankful for. I am thankful to be here with two of my favorite people. I consider these guys family, and so to be able to spend an hour and some time before this with them today is, what I'm really, really thankful for. I think relationship and connecting with people is so important to my well-being, especially in this time. And so I'm also thankful for all of you for joining us here today, and hopefully communicating with us. And I'm gonna think about this funny fact while these guys introduce themselves and come back to me. So we're on next.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. Yat Esh Sir Bigay Inishia. Tapa Han Ishla, Sinjakine Bushes Chin, Bilagana Shache, Sinajini Chanela, Sehotso Shah, Shama Aylin Adams Wiyesh, J. Brandon Gay Wiye. My partner is Tomas Camilo Maya, and I have a little beautiful baby girl, and her name is Haseya Koya Maya. I am currently in Phoenix, Arizona. It is super outside. It's like 107 degrees. Due to having a newborn and being in quarantine, I haven't really experienced much of the heat, so I'm feeling good in my refrigerator home. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I am actually a 10. It's pretty surprising. I'm feeling a 10. I got some good sleep last night, and I just finished an awesome documentary on Netflix about Michael Jordan. It was pretty cool. And let's see, one positive thing about myself would have to be I had a good spurt of motivation yesterday, and I cleaned a lot of my house. And so whenever I feel that motivation, like, gotta do something, because it it comes in waves. You know, we have our waves of like wanting to do the most, and we have our waves of wanting to chill the most. So yesterday I was on a wave of doing a lot, and so that's one positive thing. Um, One funny fact, kind of crazy, of the amount of love that you have as a parent. I was explaining to my peers here earlier. My little Hosea, she's been having little cute farts lately, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So funny fact, I love when my baby farts. It just makes me so happy and fills me with butterflies. Yeah, and that is who I am and what I'm up to.
Dope. Thank you, Sib and Shay. Malo today, kainga, go ingo, go shua koka, go fifi, ki whakamare go ni, ke whakatahai, ko ko loto mo ki moto hea honi. Really grateful to be here with everyone. My name is Joshua Cocker. I'm Kiowa on my mom's side from Oklahoma, and on my dad's side, I'm Tongan, and I was born in New Zealand, and we're from the Kingdom of Tonga in the South Pacific. Right now, I'm living just outside of Santa Barbara, um, in a Chumash village area, traditional territory. The village actually that we're living in right now used to be called Kalawashak, but now it's called Santa Ynez. Um, it's beautiful here, not quite as hot as Phoenix, and not quite as cool as Portland. So we're the medium here. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here with everyone today. Something I'm grateful for is got a lot to be grateful for. Recently, I officially moved into this area with my things. And so as I was looking off, I just saw my drums, my hand drums up on the wall. I'm really happy to be able to have those. My baby Togia Horoma, my baby girl, our baby girl Togia Horoma is coming in 8 days. Well, that's what the schedule says. And so yeah, I'm glad that we have our drums and we have our gourds and we're ready to sing her in. So that's something I'm grateful for. And scale of 1 to 10 today. Today I'm about an 8. I have planned to make grilled cheeses with our 2-year-old later on. And that's definitely gonna shoot me up to a 10. And then funny fact, was it?
Yeah.
I have 8 chickens who have become not my therapists, but definitely my confidants. Like during the day, I'll go out, and as I'm like ushering them back into their coop, we'll talk about like what's been going on. I'll ask them about how their day's going, give them some mealworms and crickets. So it's a good time. It's a reciprocal relationship, and I feel like we're all coming out better, because of it. So yeah, chickens are great listeners. If you ever get a chance, I would encourage that.
Man, dang, I I don't know what my funny fact is. Um, Funny fact.
I have
I
a prompt for your funny fact.
Oh geez. Okay, go.
Okay, so everybody in Facebook world, in the web world, hello. And I would like to tell you all that today is Shaylene's birthday. Yeah. So if we could all please just wish her a happy birthday, that would be awesome. And yeah, prompt a funny something funny that happened on your birthday before. I don't know.
Oh man. Dang. Okay, something funny on my birthday. I I have spent my birthday in so many different places, and I think usually, oh, here's a funny fact. Um, as a kid growing up, I am, and this might be a little, weird, but I am not a fan of chocolate. And my basically entire growing up, my family loves chocolate. And so on my birthday, we'd get a massive chocolate cake and then I'd get like a mini cake to myself, and it'd be like vanilla with like strawberry filling. Yeah, so that's one of my funny facts. I think everywhere that I've been, people always get chocolate cake because it's what they want, but that's usually like what we order, and then I get like a smaller cake on the side because I'm also not a big sweets person either. But yeah, that's my funny fact. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Yeah, and here we are, and now I'm joining the group of pandemic birthday parties.
Yeah.
Welcome to my birthday party. This is it. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I think that's the. If I have a funnier one, I'll think of it as time goes. I'm sure something will come up.
Mhm.
Cool. So I'm kind of reading the comments. Well, now it's about my birthday. Okay, so in the link, in the commentary, we'll be posting the link for the national survey for the Center for Native American Youth. In addition, I hope that everyone in the comments also communicates with us along the way. We'll be talking about the census and, a lot of different things like community-based through the day. And now I'm getting distracted. Cool. So I think, just kind of overall, we're going to do like just through conversation with us three, conversation with all of you in the comments, about the census. What do we know? I'm definitely not an expert on the census. I have just, been, researching and Googling here and there, like I do with any topic I want to know more about. And we just wanted to kind of share space together with one another, with all of you talking about how, the census affects our community so much. So question one, actually, in the comments, let us know, have you filled out the census? Has you and your family had that conversation? Have you filled it out? Has someone in your family or your household filled it out? I think there's a lot of, we were working with youth, I was going to say the other day, it's been a couple weeks. And we were talking to the youth about, being able to have those conversations with our parents and our family members who are in our households, to ask them, have you filled out the census? Have we done that as a family? And, if not, can we sit down and take the time to do so? I think there's a lot of different things. I just saw a comment. Okay, my grandma, hi, she's watching this Facebook live stream. She said my funny fact of me trimming the shrubs or the bushes outside my grandparents' house. Um, so, so the other, I guess it was like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks. We were out helping. Sorry, sidetracked from the census before I forget. So we were helping my grandparents, and we were at their house, and my grandpa was like trimming the bushes, but he was saying that his back was kind of hurting. So I was like, yeah, I can do it, I can do it. And he kind of looked at me like kind of hesitant, and then I was like, no, I can do it, I can. And then he was like, okay, cool. So we he gave it to me, and it's like electrical, so there's like a massive extension cord. And my brother was painting, I think, and so it was just like me and my grandpa, and he like
Sib, did Shailene disappear? Did Shailene disappear on your screen as well?
No, she just paused.
Oh, okay. She disappeared on my screen. No.
Oh no. Okay, well, we're waiting for her to get back any minute now.
Yeah, sorry, Shailene.
You
She was
guys,
on.
in the comments, let us know if you can see us, Sierra and Josh. That would be super helpful. And then if you can see us, we'll keep this going until Shailene gets back on.
Are you able to see the Facebook comments?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Alrighty.
Can they see us?
She left us on a cliffhanger. Yeah, she did. Okay.
Can they see us, Sid?
Yeah, they can see us.
Okay, cool. Shoot, well, we'll have to wait until she comes back so we can hear the rest of that hedge story. But we'll jump into talking about the census really quickly. Um,
Mhm.
I just had a couple of questions about like one of the things that we do often with the Native Wellness Institute team is when we're out and we're training and we're talking about things, introducing concepts and topics, is we'll address a few questions and we'll frame the questions like this: what did you see, what do you feel, and what did you hear, and sometimes substitute it for think as well. So maybe we could start with that, if that'd be all right, Sib.
Yeah, this
We can both bounce that off, and I'll go after you. Just like, what do you think, what do you feel, and what do you hear when you are hearing about like the census, especially during this time, like 2020 pandemic, civil
right.
unrest, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Hmm. Okay. So I filled out the census as soon as you know, it the gates opened for it. And it was pretty easy. I had a lot of nerves going in of like, am I gonna do this right? Um, and I get some type of anxiety. I really am not sure why, but anything having to do with paperwork, applications, writing, even writing a comment for Instagram or Facebook, it shoots my anxiety up the roof. I don't know why I'm like that, but so I built up the courage to try and do the census, and it was, way easier and streamlined than I expected, which was pretty cool. Going through all the questions, I think it took me like 2 minutes tops. Um, and so that like anxiety, went away right away. I'm like, oh man, if I can do it, you can do it. um, and going through all of the questions, it made me like really had to think of like all of our other relatives, our people of color, because I saw all these different ethnicities, and like ethnic groups that were in the little tabs of what people could choose and what they identify as. And so, after I filled it out, I thought back of like, wow, there's so much diversity within the United States. There's so many different relatives that are here, and that are, on this land. And thinking of like our ancestors, and would they have, ever imagined different strong cultural communities as well, being in sharing space. And so that's one thing that was I didn't expect to feel when filling out the census, is feeling the larger community outside of just like me and who I am, and like brought in a little bit more of like my mind while I was filling it out. Um, yeah, but I feel pretty good about filling it out. I got to mark our little Hasea in the census, and that made me feel really cool because I'm like, oh my gosh, it just solidified like she's here. She's 3 months old now, and I'm like, wow, she's here. She's in community. Her one little vote is gonna count within my community, and that made me feel really good. Like, I would want all of our little ones to be counted so that they can have the resources, within education or within different programs, different cultural programs. I know that there is a program that was here for a while in Phoenix, and they actually got defunded. And so they taught songs and language, and it made my heart like drop. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want these different programs to continue in urban areas where I am. And so I thought, like, okay, there's only so much that I can do, and there's only so much that our communities can do on their own. And so I'm going to help within this small little way that I can.
Dope.
Yeah.
It's kind of intense. I didn't really think about it as like a larger community the way that you thought about when you were filling it out.
Hmm.
We filled it out as well. As soon as the form arrived at the house, I say we, but I didn't fill it out. My partner filled it out, and it was cool. It was cool to be like, yeah, we did that. I definitely felt like a sense of accomplishment, along with the household, just in general. Kind of feeling like, I don't know, had something to say, able to say it, and the people who are going to be counting all those individuals, they're going to hear us, and that's important.
Right.
Um, just a quick for everyone watching, are you getting feedback on your side, Sib?
No,
Okay.
I'm not. But are you guys in the comments? Could you let us know if you're hearing any feedback? Maybe I'll mute when you talk, and then you can mute when I talk. We can do that. I'll just mute myself so it, yeah, and then you can keep talking.
For this conversation to have flow and direction, I hope that we're all operating on the same pace. So just a few tidbits about the census itself. The census is um is something that the government does every 10 years, I believe. Is that right, Sib? Cool. So every 10 years, and what they do is it's not based on citizenship, but it's based on the actual number of people in the nation, like living within its borders. Um, they'll send out forms, and used to be people going door to door, and you just tell how many people are in your household. This year is a little bit different. They're asking for the relationship status, and sexual orientation of domestic partners, marriages, things of that sort. And then they also ask for cultural background and ethnicity. So that's pretty cool. Be able to monitor like where the funds are going. And what they do is they'll account for all of the people who fill it out, and then they will allocate money according to that. The figure for the amount of money was something to the tune of 1 trillion plus, to be able to allocate those funds over the next 10 years until the next census. And so filling out the census is super important, in considering, like, well, traditionally our people thought in the future it was we do things this spring to set us up for fall. Fall will set us up for spring the next year. We're always like planning ahead. And the census right now, if we accurately are able to give figures of people in our community, then we'll be able to receive funding over the next 10 years, and all those things that we want to do, the programs, language programs, some of the things that Sid talked about, like one of those programs that got defunded, might be able to come back. Maybe our community is able to come up with this idea that we all really want to get behind. And if we are here now, present, and active with the census taking, then we will down the line have the opportunity to set ourselves up for that. Yeah, when it came time for like the census, that was like what my mind was going to, and I was a little gutted that I wasn't back home in Oklahoma, just because we have 4 people in the house, and I was like, we could have had 4 more on the KCA on our reservation to give power to the Kiowa people. um, yeah, it's been this year's been super intense, and it's made me like think a lot about what's gonna happen in the future and what it's gonna look like, um, for work, man, across all kinds of industries. And then on top of that, what's the educational system gonna look like? Having been able to been a part of conversations with um, teacher groups, boards, like districts up in Washington, but then also to hear like the moves that are happening back home in Oklahoma, with the first Native American charter school being opened. in Oklahoma City. That's pretty cool. It's been awesome to see all of these people, uh, like this intergenerational collaboration, wanting to progress like our people's narratives, wanting to get ahead about um, and on top of our healing, and just kind of uplifting the people. It takes money. Love for the people is awesome and it's motivating. But love alone for our culture and traditions, unfortunately, does not pay the bills. But it's possible for us to be able to live, um, you know, in a way that makes our ancestors proud, in a way that we want to be known by and get paid for it too. And I feel like this funding, um, that is available over the next little while is so crucial to that part. And I really hope that everyone at home in Oklahoma and everyone across the Indian country takes the time to fill it out. It's crazy because Native Americans actually only account for 2% of the population, is what they were saying as of 2017, I believe the year was. And so, for such a small part of the population, like relatively speaking, we still have the ability to do some pretty incredible things. If the funding was in our communities appropriately, based upon like the amount of people that we have in our communities, uh, like my mind was like, well, what could we do with treaty rights? Because that's like an open thing right now, especially in Oklahoma. Massive win for the Muskogee Cree tribe and many of the other tribes as well in eastern Oklahoma, specifically northeastern Oklahoma. I was like, man, I wish we had the ability to be able to do that on the KCA down in southwest Oklahoma. And it's just, yeah, my mind just kind of runs wild with possibilities. Like in 10 years, what's gonna happen? You have like electric vehicles like Tesla coming out with vehicles that can go over 500 miles. The UAE just launched their first Arabic launch to Mars. They have a mission going to Mars. Um, if we would have been talking about that 10 years ago, minds kind of would have been blown. I feel like in 2010, the most important thing was like PlayStation. I was also my age, like PlayStation. Like, the technology is going to advance, opportunities are going to open up, and I hope that our people are counted now, so that when those opportunities come to Indian country, we have the funding and the manpower and brain power to like take those things on. And that's really like where my mind goes when I think about census taking. So yeah, that was a big splurge, but those are the things that I've been thinking, and that's what I've been feeling about this too. But I wanted to ask about, like, are your community back home? Have you guys heard anything about like it being difficult to fill out the census, or yeah, finding resources?
Yeah, well, so back home on my res, I'm from the Navajo Nation, and like many other communities, there's a lot of resources that aren't readily available. And one of those resources is internet or Wi Fi. Um, and I think that um, maybe some community members may feel like so disconnected that it isn't possible to reach out, whether that's like, having Wi Fi to fill out the census. But there are mail, like you said, you got an envelope, right, with mail to fill it out. And so I would just encourage our young people to really help our elders in this, to really step up and be a good, community community member. If you know of a relative that you could help out in that way. I know it's hard to do so within, you know, times of COVID and social distancing, but find the safest way to help your community. Like I said, I am in Phoenix, and so um, I can't directly say what and how it has impacted me not being in, a place that doesn't have Wi-Fi. But there is some Wi-Fi. It's just not the best, and it can seem frustrating, especially to are older people who, you know, a phone is, you know, isn't the norm, or even English, where, a lot of families are mainly Navajo spoken households. Um, and so I think that our young people really need to step up and and help those, that their grandparents or their uncles or their aunties, and encourage them to fill out the census. I remember being, it makes me think of being like a young girl, or, we still do this today, of like, oh, what would you do if you had $1 million? And like, we get happy and excited and joyful, like, oh my gosh, if I had $1 million, us as Native, well, myself, I can only speak for myself. Me as an Indigenous woman, I think of like, oh man, like I always think back, like, oh, how could I give back to my community? Like, oh, I would do this, and that would be so cool if like our town had this, or if all of our grandmas were riding on these cool like ATVs herding their sheep. And so to look at it that way, like this one little thing that you can fill out could open up those doors and those possibilities of like, your community having those things. And yeah, and then also, um, we don't want there to be an undercount where our, programs, have less than what they had before in the previous 10 years.
Ah, for sure. I like that a lot, actually, that idea of like throwing your mind forward. What would you do if? Um, so there's a couple of things that I just want to draw attention to. Everyone who's here with us. Sib touched on something that was super important. The idea of being undercounted, and the potential outcomes because of that. Uh, we are, as a nation, being taxed by the federal government, and a big part of the structure of the government, and definitely one of, my mind just like goes back to history class and learning about like the Boston Tea Party, the American narrative really started, I feel like, with that big push of, if you're going to tax us, then we want to be represented. And this census being properly, counted, will help like our regions of the states, regions of the nation, and also us as Indigenous peoples, to be able to further our representation on like local, county government to state, and even federal, representation as well. So it's super important. We've had some pretty massive wins, um, over the past few years, especially like, uh, two Indigenous women in Congress. And then, did the governor of Idaho win? I just remember she was running, and that was a really big thing. Um, we have the ability to expand that influence, and to bring our way of life and our way of thinking, um, and really our healing modalities to everyone, and that would be awesome. I feel like we could change so much, and so I hope that we're not undercounted in this census. And one other thing too that I wanted to say, I was thinking about when Sib was talking, was, this idea of like, one thing that I have heard a lot in doing like research about the census, and, just listening to commercials and talking with friends, is it does seem to be like it's a way that we as individuals can be counted. It's a way that we can, claim power on a national level. Um, but that power and the reason for being counted is the money, which is true. Um, and I just wanted to say that, uh, you know money coming into our communities is going to be awesome, and the money that does come does amazing things, and I hope that all of us who are in these communities, who are receiving, different federal funds for whatever reason, that we as individuals, along with our communities, have plans for what we want in the future. Being able to like see ourselves in the future, and cast that vision forward and then walk confidently towards it from where we're standing is super important. And in that sense, like, again, I was just thinking about when we were taking the census. I hope everyone back home, where I'm from in Oklahoma, does this, because I would love to see more opportunities for our people who want to learn the language and who do speak the language, to be able to make that like a way of life, to for those who want to preserve our traditional practices and integrate them or incorporate them or reimagine them in today's world, to be able to make that their way of life. And it's possible. And it's possible, if we all pull together and choose to be counted. You know, I have my own views on the U.S. government and their ability to govern on our land, specifically like our reservations. I personally feel like, uh, that their foreign power, doesn't really do a lot in terms of being able to help us. But this is one of the places where we do have an opportunity to make a big difference. Yeah, my mind is like, right now, my mind's kind of racing, but like the feeling that it's caught hold of is more hopeful, and somewhat urgent as well. I feel like this time has just kind of brought that out. We have like, 2020 has been a super interesting year. This year, we started our own garden. We got chicks and brought them up from like just out of the egg. They're 2 days old, and got a baby coming as well, and a 2-year-old already here in the house running the show. And it's just been like this year of like new life growth, and it's been intense. Like the squash, the corn, and the beans exploded, and it's like out of control back there. Like our zucchini look like they should be in a county fair. Our chickens haven't started laying eggs yet. Hopefully soon, but like they exploded as well. Our 2-year-olds growing up, and it just makes me feel like time is slipping away. Even talking to, Hasea and Sib and Tomas today, uh, I was looking at her and I was like, man, she's really attentive and she's holding her head up. I was like, that's crazy for a 1 month old. And Tomas is like, it's been 3 months. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's just like, it's constantly going, and this year is flying by. And next year will fly by as well. And and I really hope, my mind is like, I really want, to be able to contribute something to my people, to those who like raised me, who brought me into this world, who prayed for me, who made my life possible. And I also want to prepare something to gift, to those who are following, something better than what I had growing up. Um, and I feel like all this is all playing into it. Maybe I've been locked up too much, and sitting in this house has made me going crazy. But I really feel like I want the vision of our people to be strong, um, and to go along with that, in the same breath, I want them to be able to have the means to realize those visions as well.
Yeah, awesome. Um, so there was a comment. I would just want to go back to it. It says, Z said, even with the virus. And I just want to say, yes, you can fill out the census, without, and our awesome Native Wellness commented back and said, um, right here, yes, it is in a social distance safe way. This is one of the reasons why it's important to fill it out now so nobody has to come to your door. And um, if you feel uncomfortable filling out online, you can also call in on the phone. And so I feel like that is really important. If you feel uncomfortable doing it online, call in, and you can go to 2020census.gov, and it's a really awesome, and shows you exactly what you need to do and how to do it, and really walks you through the steps of filling out the census. So you can respond online, like I said, respond on the phone, or respond by mail. And I'm just going through reading right now. Uh, yeah. And there's also language support. So for those who, let's see, there's no native languages yet, but that's what we're working up to, right, guys? That's awesome. So that was just like one more thing that I wanted to add really quick because of the virus and because of how much it is impacting our daily lives right now. Um, yeah, so definitely go to the 2020 census.gov.
Dope. I know Sib already talked about this as well, but for all of us who are on Facebook Live, who are sitting together watching these things, and even later if you're able to view this, this would be a good time as well, like Sib said, to reach out to our elders, to reach out to those who are in areas where it might be difficult, and to help them out with that as well. That's a lot of resources. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know they were
Yeah,
looking
it's
to get done.
yeah, it is really cool. There's also, if you want to find out more info of how the census could impact your community, I would look at, the different nonprofits within your area and see how they're allocating for it because myself being a younger person, I find myself more on, social media apps and whatnot. And a lot of the people that I do follow are sharing about the census. And it's really important to stay informed and see how things are going to roll out after this.
Hmm. Awesome.
Ooh, there's a bug.
This this app
Awesome.
that we're on, it like took up my whole screen. I can't really see any of the comments. They were coming up for a second, and then they all went away, and so did my clock. So I don't know how we're doing for time.
Yeah, I just want to one of the comments is from Sophie Elwell. Hi, Sophie. Thank you for joining. And I'll read out the comments since you can't see them, and then we can just, I think this is really important to talk about before we close out. And I think this will be, the last thing maybe we'll do another comment after this. But she said, and her comment was, I think there is a stigma around filling out the census because it comes from the government. So the discussion needs to be there that it's helpful, not harmful to us as Native people as a community. And I feel like this really goes into what we talk about with the Native Wellness Institute and I-20SP. There's, we have and carry a lot of that trauma from our ancestors of what has happened to us as a community. And there have been treaties, there have been different laws passed, and so moving and healing through that with the government is really hard. um, and I think that is a really good discussion that needs to happen. One thing that Josh said earlier is that once we get into different politics within the census, our numbers go up for representation within the Senate and the House, and so yeah. Do you want to comment on that, Josh?
Yeah, yeah. Man, the mistrust with government is so freaking real. I feel like it bleeds into everything, including IHS. Like, really badly hurt, but I don't want to go to IHS. They're just gonna give me ibuprofen and tell me to go home. It's like this fear of they're not gonna take care of us and they don't really care. Definitely true. Definitely true in the past. But it doesn't have to be true for the future. And we have the opportunity to like make that a reality. Just like Sid was talking about the idea of like taxation without representation is illegal, and so when we're counted properly, they're able to make it possible for our communities to be seen on like in political theater, which is really important. so that we can start changing the narrative. And it's changing now, which is really awesome. But we have the ability to like really keep pushing that. Also, I feel like well, I do want to say that that's a really valid concern. That idea of like mistrust, um, and reluctance to work in cooperation with what they're doing. Um, it's been kind of a theme in parts of my community ever since I was growing up. Uh, but again, times are changing, things are happening.
Mhm.
Um, all the way from the Redskins changing their name to two women in Congress. And so if we can catch a vision and cast our minds forward to that and realize that this will help us and our people achieve these things, I feel like that's really important. I feel that's really important. I definitely don't want to say like, oh, not true. The government's always been there for us and they'll continue to help us. Not the case. But this is something that we can do to uplift and empower like the individual and the people. So yeah, I
Mhm.
just want to add that.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I anytime I would be talking with my older aunties or grandmas, we're used to thinking and saying as Native people these like comments of like, oh, they don't care, you're invisible, um, they're broken promises left and right. And going into the future, we're like Josh said, we are starting to have these awesome figures in in politics. I love the work that our awesome Congress women are doing, and the continued work of and the inspiration that they put out there of saying like, hey, this is possible for us as Native people to be represented, representative, representative. I can't say. I don't know why I can't
Sorry, sorry.
say. And to go with their work, and how can we you know one of the teachings that I was taught growing up was when we pray for certain things, when we want certain things for ourselves, we have to go that 100% or that 50%, and Creator will reach us halfway to help achieve that. And I feel like in a weird way with the census of saying like, oh, they don't care and I'm not even gonna try because for X, Y, and Z reason, we really need to put in the effort and saying like, hey, we are here. Hey, you know, this is what I want for my community, and not just post it on social media and not just make a side comment at like a family function or when we want to go into a government um, programs or IHS. I just want to bring up there is different little fact sheets about how, let's see, our Indigenous people. Well, I'm bringing it up right now. So these are just a couple of things that the census has provided to our communities in the previous year. So, Title I grants to local education agencies received $13.9 billion. So, we're talking about huge amounts of money going into our communities. And I know we've all been having babies. I had a baby. Josh is about to have a baby. So, we need to count all our little Native babies that have been born since then. And that goes into our Head Start program. So the Head Start program received $8.3 billion. And
Is
this is
is
just
that for one community?
this is for our overall communities within.
Okay.
Yeah. hmm So these are really, really large numbers. And this goes into Native American employment and training, received 58.4 million. And, when we think of these things, we don't necessarily think of, directly the government. We think of like, oh, these are, different little opportunities. Um, and, everything, when we think of it as uh, coming, being a circle, we're in this together. And so when you exclude yourself from that circle and not put in the effort, how how can I just how can we go and make these comments when we are excluding ourselves from putting in the effort?
Yes, yes. I hear what you're saying. How can we go and make these comments? By these comments, you're talking about like the comments that we grew up listening to and may have internalized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I also think that it's super important to. I feel like this discussion, particular part of our discussion, has a lot to do with like healing. Um, we are in an opportunity. We are in a place where there's an opportunity to make a lot of movement forward, and to be able to really start like defining what our role is in our states, history in the future, and then also the nation's history in the future. Uh, unfortunately, uh, the treaty rights were not recognized for so many tribes, and unfortunately, the wrongs against indigenous people, our peoples, continued for way too long. Those things are real, and they have to be addressed not only by our communities. In order to be able to make like proper movement forward, my personal opinion, um, and and what I was taught when I was younger too is we gotta we gotta be well too. We gotta start doing our part to heal our hearts so that we can feel. You know, we gotta start helping our eyes so that we can see, and empowering our hands so that when the time comes, we're able to do. Um, we as individuals, we as indigenous individuals, have great power today, especially with like social media platforms. We're here in the middle of a quarantine. I'm stuck in Southern California. Sib's in Phoenix. Shailene is in Oregon. Don't know where you are, Shailene. We miss you. Come back to us. Happy birthday. Um,
She's
but
like, I'm good enough. It's my
yeah.
birthday.
But we're able to reach out, and we're able to reach across space, and this is going to be kept on a platform that will be able to be accessed across the world. And so, you know, in a way, we're also able to reach through time and space to be able to continue this message. And this is big stuff, man. This is huge. Our ancestors had these abilities in different ways, and now these things are open to everyone. And it's important that we take care, control of, not take control. That sounds bad. Take advantage, that we're respectful of the gifts that are given to us, and that we move forward with them. Yeah. So I like that. I like that a lot. I like what you said. Seeing yourself as a whole, and being included. It's important. When I was going to high school in New Zealand, the Maori people, the indigenous people of New Zealand, are, especially here in the United States, more often than not seen as real authorities when it comes to being able to regulate, set boundaries, and establish a good indigenous relationship with their government. Is it great? It depends on who you ask. Is it way better than what we have here? Yeah, that's definitely not up for debate. What they have in New Zealand is decades ahead of where we are as indigenous peoples for so many reasons. But one of the things that I heard when I was going to school back home in New Zealand and hanging out with a lot of my Maori friends. We went to a marae in Auckland, Papatūnuku Marae, and one of the
Oh, 1 second before you. Could you explain to our community what I is?
oh yes, a marae is a large plot of land where they have all of their it's like a village area. It's not really, but it's the marae is a meeting place, and on the marae they have what's called a whare nui, which is like a longhouse. So we were on the marae, sitting outside of this whare nui. So we're just sitting on the lawn, and we are listening to an elder speak to us younger ones. And she said to us that you have to what did she say? It was like the spirit of the conversation was um, we need to take the opportunities when they're given and keep taking them so that they keep coming. She was talking about in the 80s there was a lot of rioting and there was a lot of protest, and there was a lot of headway made by the Maori communities back home in New Zealand with the government, and that's how they were able to establish what they have now in New Zealand, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Still needs a lot of work, but there's a lot of power there. And she said that that's what they did during that time. When a seat was offered, they took that seat, and that's what I kind of see this as an opportunity as a census. Does it like give them a pass for what the government's done to our people? Absolutely not. But the opportunity is there, and it is offered to us as Indigenous communities, as well as all other communities of color. And right now in 2020, man, we need to be in that seat. We got to be there, looking at them, and making sure that we're counted. So yeah, that was kind of a long-winded story, but
No, I think it was a good story. Thank you for sharing. It just made me think of like, when we think of being gifted something, when somebody says, "Hey, I want to give you something," immediately I feel like I go into protocol mode of like, okay, what is the protocol of receiving something? And it usually is done with, I feel so much gratitude and respect when somebody is gifting me something. And so, how can we change the way we think about funding and the government from this view of what I feel a lot of times of you know used to feel moving through and healing through that of like the shame of like, well, I don't need your help,
mm,
or the shame of you were never there before, etc., etc. And so, changing our perception and maybe even teaching these politicians, teaching um, and showing and representing ourselves and having that resilience and being okay to accept government funding, being okay to accept, you know, X, Y, and Z, and really moving through and healing through that. Times are changing. It's not always gonna be like it was before. And how can we do and allocate our time now to help the change that's gonna come after?
definitely, definitely. And I do want to say something to go along with that as well. So, like, it really like it hurts, man. Being born in New Zealand, and then going back to New Zealand in high school. I was raised in Oklahoma as a young boy, and being raised around my people in Oklahoma was awesome. But the interracial relationships between like our community and the outside community was terrible. No respect. They think that English is the native language of this land. English comes from England because it's foreign, just like them. And so that like just drove me off the wall. And then I go home and everything is in Te Reo Maori and English. Kids grow up in school. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what nationality they are. If you go to school in New Zealand, you will learn words in Te Reo Maori, and that is because that is the language of that land. Many dialects exist within the nation of New Zealand, but people know that language and they greet each other, you know? And to be able to see that and to be like, man, they are seen even in common conversation. They are seen even in the signs on toilets. They are seen even in the names of their towns. Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, three major cities of power, and they're all English names. That sucks, but you have towns like Whangarei where people pronounce the word generally correct, like Taupo. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
cool would it be if people in our here in America, when they went somewhere, they knew whose land they were on? What if they went somewhere and they like were able to greet you in your language,
Right.
you know, and to be able to grow up with that and be like, God, man, I wish this feeling was at home. I wish my people had this type of relationship. I wish
Right.
they had this type of respect for outside communities. And it really comes down to, in my mind, a lack of education from outside communities. You know, they're like, "What do you mean broken treaty rights?" You know, all those people in Oklahoma are like, "What do you mean I'm on tribal land?" It's like, wait, dude, it's all Indian land, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
we can, I hope and pray that our communities will reach that point and, oh, that would be so amazing and beautiful to see, and to see that representation as well. And us as Indigenous people, we will have to continue to do this work. We'll have to continue to share our voice and be in and fill that space. Thank you guys all for joining us today. I feel really good about sitting down with my peers, us as young people, wanting to work and wanting to put in that effort for our communities. Um, I want to thank our awesome Native Wellness Institute for allowing us as I20SP to be here and share space. And you can find a lot of information in the comment section. Our comment section is awesome right now. And so I just want to read off the comment section really quick. So let's see. I'll read it out, although they commented just for those. All right, so we will take the weekend off and begin week 19 on Monday for everybody. And we're also really grateful for the Center of Native American Youth for their sponsorship. We appreciate it, especially in these times of COVID where it's hard to work, but now we're working from home. Thank you guys so much, and happy birthday to Shailene Joseph, who was with us earlier. We're really blessed with her presence earlier, and Creator just said, you know what, Shailene, it's your birthday, girl. Don't worry about a thing. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to check out our Power Hours. And like us on Facebook and Instagram, also on I20SP's Facebook and Instagram. And we will see you guys next time. I really enjoyed myself. If you have anything else to share, Josh.
thank you for joining us, guys. Oh man, I drifted in and out of being on Facebook Live. Sometimes it just felt like I was on a FaceTime with you, Sib. So that was pretty fun. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Um, yeah, share this information. Let's get our people counted and let's make moves. Thank you.
Thank you.